Hey guys, so we just got a new developer discussion where they talk about what's coming soon, and the most relevant optimization they are doing is changes to our resin cap. I'm sure with the timing of this update, you can speculate if this has anything to do with Wuthering Waves release, which is coming out today, but all we can really do is speculate on that. So starting in 4.7, the cap here will be increased from 160 to 200. No, don't get too excited though. They are not increasing the speed at which we get resin. That will still be 1 every 8 minutes. That's still the same. It's just this cap here to prevent overflow. So what does this update mean? Basically, it means you don't have to log in more than once per day anymore without overcapping on your resin. So you could say there's some reduced anxiety for players. This is because the game regenerates 180 resin per day per 24 hours, but our cap was 160. So I'm sure for a lot of you guys, you have a routine where you log into the game and do dailies. But if you did that at the same time every day, you would actually be losing 20 resin each day minimum. Even more actually, since you probably wasn't ending each day with exactly 0 resin. So funnily enough, they only updated the cap once before in 1.1. Actually, when the game first launched, the cap was 120, which is quite crazy to imagine. Meaning if you didn't want to overcap back then, you had to log in pretty irregularly and it was very annoying. But then in 1.1 they buffed it from 120 to 160, which is what we've had for the last few years, as well as them giving us condensed resin to store 40 at a time, which honestly is a very nice update. They actually also did give us a few more things shortly after, like giving us the weekly transient resin from the Serenity pot, as well as reducing costs for the weekly bosses. But this was all in 1.5, and as you can see, they didn't do anything else with this for a few years until now. So we talked about who this helps, but actually the thing is, if you're a hardcore player who always does regularly log in, then this change doesn't really do anything for you since you probably weren't overcapping anyway. That's going to be the case for me. This doesn't really affect me much at all. Now, I know people usually complain about Genshin when comparing to Star Rail since HSR usually has better quality of life updates. But actually, in a way, this is better than Star Rail's current system since there we have a 240 Trailblaze power cap, which is their equivalent for resin, and you regenerate 240 every 24 hours. Whereas from Genshin's next patch, the cap will be slightly higher than what we get every 24 hours. But it's not completely better since we have a reserve system in Honkai Star Rail where it actually stores overflowing Trailblaze power, albeit at reduced rate. It saves about 1/3 of what you would normally get, but it stores a huge amount, like a month's worth of overcap. You get about 10 days worth in storage. They also had a similar system in Honkai Impact 3rd, by the way. So I would say this is something I do hope they integrate into Genshin in the future. Like I said, it's not a system for hardcore players, but it's more like if you have to travel and you can't play the game for a few days, or if you take a break from the game completely and you come back, well, now you would have 11 days worth of resin to use, and it can help jumpstart your Star Rail career back again. So as I alluded to earlier, some people might say that Genshin is doing this update because they're scared about Wuthering Waves. To be honest, they probably are paying attention to Wuthering Waves, but I don't think they're scared. I don't want to keep this part too long, but just giving my 2 cents. Essentially, apparently Genshin is like the most expensive game to develop ever, or thereabouts. The running cost for this scale of game is huge, so everyone knows regardless of how good a game can be at launch, the real challenge is maintaining that level for months and years, which not only requires a lot of creativity and exciting content ideas in the pipeline, but also a huge financial backing, which I'm sure Wuthering Waves does have since apparently they are backed by Tencent. But regardless, overall as a consumer, it's just a win-win for both of us if more games are coming out and creating more competition. So at the end of the day, that means we get better content from everyone. So if Genshin is scared, then that's just a win for us. So this is definitely a good quality of life update, but it's nothing game-changing. But also at this point, the game's been out for years. I know a lot of people over the years have been crying out for huge resin system changes, so you might be frustrated with a small change like this, but also I know In reality, most people have moved past the acceptance phase, and we're probably only ever going to see smaller changes like this rather than anything huge like doubling or tripling the amount we can farm, increasing drop rates. The game's been out for a while. I don't think too many people are really holding out for anything crazy anymore. That's just the reality. So let me know if these changes help you. Maybe you can only log into the game once a day, so this helps you get a little bit extra resin. And by the way, I will be playing Wuthering Waves on Twitch once it releases, so that's where you'll find me for the next few days. And thanks for watching.